President Clinton had the right way to balance the budget. It has been done before. He faced similar problems than we do. Maybe not quite as bad in some ways, but similar. And the way you do it is you have to work with others and get more revenue, very challenging, difficult political decisions, cut government spending, again, challenging political decisions, but you have to do both. If you try doing one and not the other, you're not going to get there. And that requires a lot of consensus. But finally, you cannot just ignore places where you do need investment. Because there are some areas, particularly infrastructure, where there will be a return on that investment. And if you don't invest in those areas, you're going to do more damage to the economy than you will do good from having saved money and balancing the budget. So balance the budget, but do so in the right way, in a balanced way, and make sure that you're investing in those key things. I mentioned infrastructure. I do think infrastructure is a key investment. And having been in office, one of the things that I really believe was a way that we were able, in my office, to affect positive change in the area. Because everybody benefited, including a lot of businesses, etc. And let me give you some examples. One of the things that we started to try to do was to bring a discount airline to the airport. Well, we weren't able to do that. Well, there's one already, JetBlue, but we weren't able to do that. But we started making progress. Hancock Airport is being redone. It is going to be a better system in terms of attracting that discount airport, that discount airline. That's something we need to do. I mean, it's very frustrating when you want to go anywhere for business, for family, for whatever reason. You have to get up very, very early in the morning. You have to get up even earlier than I do because you have to drive a little farther to get to the airport. The airport itself, not bad. It's pretty accessible to the roads. But once you get there, you know, who knows when the flights are going. And if you have a meeting somewhere like New York City, you're practically, just even if you have one meeting, you got to go first thing in the morning and come down late at night unless the airlines follow. You know, exactly. And God forbid you make your reservation with less than 3 weeks notice, because you'll be paying an arm and a leg. That's a real issue. I do think in the long run, high-speed rail is very, very important for upstate New York. And some people say it's a boondoggle. You know, my opponent, of course, is opposed to it. She's written a letter saying we don't want even already appropriated money here. Well, this is, I mean, I know everybody's expecting you to say things that aren't so nice, but actually she's got some big companies, because Thomas Jefferson thought the Erie Canal was a little sort of crazy. So it's not like this is abnormal. But I do think that the Erie Canal, of course, was one of our huge projects, and at the time, it was very controversial, and none of us would really be here in upstate New York to work for that. This, I think, is similar. I really do believe it's similar, particularly if you include improvements to our freight rail, improvements to the port of Oswego, and other kinds of things that are going to make this area, central New York, which is central, is one of the reasons why, a real transportation hub for the Northeast. Both for freight and for people, and I think that's more and more important. And our water infrastructure is very important too. You know, we do have a clean water economy. It's one of the reasons why I have been critical of hydrofracking in this state, and why I think we need to continue the moratorium at least until we have basic federal regulation. But it's because our clean water is so important and so vital. We use it for transportation, but we also use it for tourism. We have so many farms, both traditional and otherwise, and now we have wineries springing up all around the Finger Lakes, and we're becoming the Napa Valley of the Northeast. Well, water, it takes some infrastructure. Up in Fairhaven, if you don't do dredging every couple of years, you're not going to be able to take your boats out. Well, believe it or not, in some of the bills that we passed, including some of the bills that you may not like too much, because they weren't perfect, but there was money for dredging, and we were able to make sure that the basic harbors were dredged. Very, very important, I think, for upstate New York. And even now, we'd like to, see the need is coming up again, and now suddenly it doesn't look like the resources are there. So we've got to fix that. Again, these are investments. I think they pay off. The second area of investments that I really think we need to look at is education. Now, education is tougher. It's not like you build a bridge and you then have a bridge. Instead, you're investing in young minds. And as young people know so well, it costs a lot of money. They end up going into huge debt for their education in many, many cases. But they don't have anything physical to show for it. In fact, it's like they have a mortgage but no house, and no collateral. But in fact, that education, that human capital, is one of the most important things to our economy here in central New York. Make no mistake about it. We need to do manufacturing here. I was out at the Nucor yesterday. I've been out at Owens, Illinois. Great manufacturing, but what makes it so great is the fact that you've got a lot of minds out there working very hard to do things in the most efficient way. Even manufacturing is now about human capital. Not to mention things like the hospitals, the universities, the colleges, the prison. All of that is actually about human capital. We need to make sure we have well-educated workforce. It's one of the things that is the reason why, even with all the state stuff and you know, makes it more difficult in some ways to be in New York State, we still have a lot of industry here because of our educated and dedicated workforce. So we need to bring that into the future, but it's very challenging right now. Our schools, I was talking to the superintendent of the Auburn schools. She's new, and so you know, it's hard to blame her for all the things of the past. She came from somewhere else, and she's looking at the situation, and it's a very challenging situation because throwing money at the problem isn't the solution. But you do need some resources in order to implement any possible solution that you have. And your schools, you're lucky. You're still pretty good, but they're falling through the cracks in the current way that public education is funded. It's too small to be like Syracuse, one of these needy school districts, but it's just out of the state where the state rates it in terms of having the need that you really, you know, would really help a small school district make sure that it stays as good as it can be. And then of course there is higher education. And look, I'm not shy about it. Pell Grants I think is a worthy investment. We should expand those programs. I think that things that you know, that help kids pay for college and also help when they graduate, if they want to go do something, particularly like in this community where primary care physicians are in huge demand. If they want to come here and be a primary care physician or be a nurse practitioner, we'll help pay down their loans. It'll be a percentage. It won't be the same amount. Those things do cost some money, but they're investments, and I do think they pay off tremendously. So I want to take questions, so I'm going to wrap this up. But in short, balance the budget in the right way. Not in the backs of our, I don't think we need to privatize Medicare or Social Security. We can talk about that. The money that is saved from that too often goes from somewhere else, and in the long run it doesn't save money because those are programs that actually do serve a huge need, and in my view they're not even programs because people pay into them. They're more like trusts, if you will. I think we do have to make those key investments. If we do that, we in Central New York are in very, very good shape. This is a part of the country, because of its location, because of its natural resources. Water is going to be more important than oil or gold or anything in the next century. And because of our educated, dedicated workforce, I still think it's going to be a huge booming economy. And finally, of course, there are the intangibles. This is the best place in the world to live. I'm from here. The dedication that people have from here. I mean, I run into many people like my wife who grew up in Detroit, and many couples like this where, you know, well, what are you doing in Central New York? Well, my husband's family or my wife's family or whatever. That's really special, and that we do have here. So I'm bullish. I think we need to be optimistic. I know Rotarians are naturally optimistic, so that's why we always have to remember it's not spring back, fall forward, which would be a little overly pessimistic. Fall back, spring forward, and that's what we're doing. And we need to make sure that we don't become so cynical about the political process that we just sort of give up, stay home, don't vote, or just say, you know what, government is totally evil, or on the other side, business is totally, you know, there's the Tea Party on one and the Occupy on the other. Neither one of them is really right. I think working together is the best way.